Hi everyone, I am Anju. Today, I am excited to take you on a journey to the exciting world of Umbraco 12's Headless Series. Actually, this is not just about a new release, it's a leap forward into the future of web development. Just imagine a world where you can create and manage your digital content is not just bounded by the limitations of traditional CMS. Actually, Headless Umbraco is something like that. So let's dive into Umbraco 12's Headless Series. Today, we will cover how we can extend filter configuration, caching, and much more. So today's speaker is Mr. Danesh, who is one of my colleagues, senior software engineering phases with rich experience in Umbraco. Danesh, you can take over the session from now on.
Yeah, thank you, Anju. So I will dive into the session directly. So this is the second session for the Headless series. So the previous session is taken by Diljit. So that cover the basic things of Umbraco Headless, like how we can install the Umbraco Headless and how we can run the project, how we can consume the API. So those basic things is covered in the previous session taken by Diljit. So I am just taking something more in this session actually. So so you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just giving an introduction, just give an introduction about what we are taken in the previous session. So what we discussed about in the previous session is about we can, so the headless is introduced by Umbraco by default in the 12 version. So we need to create an Umbraco project and we need to refer, the 12 version, the version 12, we need to create that project and once it's created then we can use that the headless flexibility, so we can create in different ways. Either we can use .NET CLA or we can use the the Umbraco templates. It's available in the Umbraco documentation itself, and once it's installed then we need to configure some of the configuration needed to expose those API. So for that there is few properties we can update in the app settings. So delivery API is that referred for pointed to this feature actually. So under this we need to enable like it's true or false. It's true means we can consume the content as the JSON, and if there is authentication, then we need to explicitly mention the API key for that, and we need to we need to mention that it's not publicly accessible. So these are the the basic things for the headless. So once it's done then we can expose the API. So once the project is run we can see the Swagger documentation basically. So this is the Swagger documentation where we can see the Umbraco delivery API. This is the definition actually. So under this definition, we can see these endpoints. So one is for content, like there are different endpoints that is for fetching the content. There are different endpoints for different purpose, basically focusing on or interacting with the Umbraco content basically. And the second is for media actually. In some sort scenarios, we need to fetch the media actually. So like if we are if we have the PDF files or some other resources, then we need to fetch that that resource actually. So for that purpose and some sort of business requirements, we need the media API. So these APIs is are responsible for to interact with the Umbraco media actually. So these are the two main the API for the Umbraco headless actually. So so I'm just diving into the content. So in the content we can see different parameters is there: fetch, filter, sort, and the skip and take for the pagination. Expand is their language, like where Umbraco is supporting multilingual, so if there is multiple language we can see and we can expose based on that. And API key, as I said in the starting, like we need to protect the data, so by using the API key authentication, so we need to specify the API key that mentioned here actually. So it's for a demo. I just use 1 2 3 like that. Yep. So we can use the same in the API key, and the preview is to whether so in Umbraco we can either save and publish the data, and we can save it. I mean in the draft mode. So once it's in the draft mode, then we need to when we need to pull the draft mode data, then we need to use this option, the preview option, and this is the start item actually. So these are the query parameters for for interacting with this endpoint basically. So I'm just diving into that. So for this I am just install the starter kit so we can reduce we can save some time actually. So for in the starter kit we have these these contents available basically, so we can use these contents for our session. So I am going to try it out. So here we can firstly go through the fetch actually. So what is this mean by, like, we can fetch all the content. I mean, whatever published content is there, we can fetch all the contents by using this option. I mean, this option, the select all option. And either or we can we can fetch by ID, path, or children, descendants, ancestor, like that. So these different option has different different business requirements actually. Like if we need to fetch the content or the all the child pages by its path, then we can use this option. If you want to fetch all the parents or the ancestor of a specified content, then we can use this option. And each property has its own its own the purpose basically. So first of all, when we use select all and then we hit the hit the execute the endpoint, then we can see the data actually. So it exposes everything. You can see the content type, that is home and name, the properties for that that content, and the other content is there. So it is exposing everything. So in some scenarios we don't need that. We only need only need the ancestor for the specific node type. Let's say if I am going to the back office and I want to pull the I want to show this, this about us actually, the parent for this, this content. So I'm just using that. So for that, we need to copy that, copy the key for that, the content, and I need to fetch the ancestor for this item. So I'm just going here and using, instead of this ID, I'm just specifying that and executing that. So we can see the ancestors of that specific content basically. So that's how the different option will work. So, and when we go to the next query parameter, that is called filter, like we need to filter the fetched contents. Like this is for fetching the content, and this is for filtering the content basically. So there are different parameters are there. Like by default, there is, we can filter the data by its content type. I mean the document type, and filter by name actually. So these are the two the default parameters. We can customize it. We will go through that things in this session as well. So, and the third one is sort. We can sort by different options, and this is also customizable. That will also we will cover in this topic. So, by these all are actually default options. So these, I think these things we covered in our previous session. So these skip and take is for the pagination. The skip is actually the page number, and take is the page size. The expand is very used for expose the data actually. So this will determine whether it need to expose all the data, or it need to we need to expose only expose only data within a specific property. So that type of business requirement, we can use this expand option. So we can go through that. So I'm going to select all, and I'm adding the content type by, we can we can fetch the products actually. So this is the document type. If we go here, we can see the alias for this document type. So we need to use that, and we need to specify it here. Instead of this alias one, we are specifying the products. So it will fetch the products. So it will filter based on that product document type, and we are supposed to fetch all the information. And here, if we come to this, we are using the expand all. Okay, so we can see the difference in. So if you're looking here, we can see all the products actually, all the products we can see here. So we are using this option like we are using the expand all, that's why it exposing everything. But in the real time, we know that we need to reduce the payload size for this JSON for to improve the API interactions actually. So for reduce the the page load size, payload size, we don't need some of the properties we don't need, some of the properties only we need in some sort of scenario, so that we can control by using this expand this expand option. So let's say if I want to, we can go to expand none. So what will happen? So if we using the expand none, we can see that we can go through a example. So it is easy to understand. If we go to the content section, we can see a property called feature products. In these feature products, we can see this, the multiple product item is, tagged. So let's go into the feature products. So this is the products item. So here we are going to the properties actually. We can see that the feature product is exposing these all data is actually exposing. We can see that. But if you look into here, this biker jacket is actually tagged here actually. But if you look into here, these properties actually for this content, but it is not exposing actually. But in some scenarios we need the content for this item also. We need the content for this item in a single call. So for that purpose, how we can use is like we can use this. Either we can use expand all. If we use expand all, everything will expose, but we don't need that because we only need that feature product, right? So we need to go here and we need to find the alias for this feature product basically. I'm just going to this document type and finding that okay, this is the feature product. So I am coming to our Swagger documentation and I am explicitly mentioned that feature products. So if you looking here, we can't see any properties for this, for this biker jacket actually. So when we expose this, then we can see the properties actually. If you look into the name biker jacket and it is exposing the properties, everything. The bike and the product name is biker jacket, the price 199, the category and everything, that is actually pulling from here. If you look into the content, we can see this tag data. If you click on the open, we can see all the all the properties for that biker jacket. I mean the content tagged in the product section basically. So that's how we can use this expand option. So it is very useful when we when to achieve some sort of business requirement basically. So this is the the expand option. And we can use the multiple properties. Currently we are just using one property. In some sort scenarios we need to use multiple properties, so we can use in that way. And the language, as I said, currently I'm just using the the default language, it's English. So in some sort scenarios we have multiple language, so we can use that the options. And preview, as I said, this is for the where some if we updating some content and we are not save and publishing, we are just save. That means it's in the draft mode actually. So by default it will the API will only expose the published content. If we need to expose the the draft content, then we need to explicitly mention this true. So we can check actually how it is working. So by default this is nothing. So I'm coming here and I'm trying to change the, let's say we can change this biker jacket name. I'm changing to biker jacket test. I'm just saving it. And when we the preview is in by default mode, so we can see the product name is biker jacket actually. So when we execute this, we can't see any changes actually. But when we change this to the true, then we try to execute, then we can see the Hmm. where it is actually. So I think something is missed. So biker, the product name I saved. um Okay, this is not appearing. I'm little bit confused why. Let's dig into the some scenarios. It needs to be re-indexed. So let's say. No, it is not exposing actually. Some issues is there, but yeah, but we can use that option actually. When it's true, it needs to be exposed the data in the draft mode. When it's false, that means the default option. When it's false, then it will only expose the save and publish data. Might be some mistakes, but yeah, it need to expose actually. So this is the preview option. So we can jump into the next endpoint basically. So there are other endpoints to fetch the specific item. We can fetch the item by its path is nothing, the URL. Like if you go to here, if you go to each content in the info section, we can see the end, I mean the URL for this content actually. So this is very useful in specific scenario, like if you are integrating with a front end application, I mean front end framework or any front end library like Next.js or React, then the path is using for that basically. So in our upcoming sessions, we have a session on Jan. So in that session, we will use these options basically. So this is very important, or this is very useful in that type of scenario basically. And this is nothing when when we need to fetch the item by its ID, then we can use this endpoint. So this is about the content basically. And when we go to the media, we can this is responsible for fetching that the media actually. So same will applicable, the filters and sort skip and everything is same that we discussed in the content, for the content actually. So the same logic will applicable for the media as well. So and we can we can use these options, we can use these options for fetching the media actually. So this is the two, the main the endpoint definitions, one for the content, other for the media. So I think I covered these two in basic, in a basic way. So then we can, dive into how we can customize the fetch, and how we can customize the filter, and expand options, how we can use, how we can, customize that basically. So when we need to customize this, so that we need to understand first. So in some sort of scenario, I'm in the starting, always I'm saying that, these are the default options. But in some, in order to achieve some, some business requirements, we need to implement our own logic on top of these definitions, I mean these API definitions. Because we need to introduce new fetch logic, if we want to introduce new filter logic, if we want to introduce new expand logic, we need to Umbraco provide some flexibility for that, so we can use that flexibility to achieve that business, that specific business requirements. So I'm diving into that first. So there is a clear documentation for everything, so I'm covering that in this endpoint, I mean this session. What is that? So let's say we can jump into, we can explain a scenario why we need to use that. Okay. So let's say biker jacket. So just save and publishing that. Okay. So, so there is a specific requirement. Let's say there is a specific requirement, like we need to enable a new property for each product, that is featured product is featured. So if we mark that is featured property for this product, then that need to be fetched. So if we look into the Swagger documentation, there is no option for that actually. So that for that specific logic, we need to introduce our own, the custom filter for that basically. So for that, I'm just creating the new, new property. So that property is, the name is featured. Sorry, the name is, yeah, I already tried. So the type is true or false. That means it will return some bool values. So I'm just created a property called is featured for this product, the product content type. So basically how it will work is like, if it is marked as enabled, that means this product is featured. And when we request from the Swagger, this the only featured product needs to be exposed. So that we are going to achieve. So I am just enabling this, and I'm just save and publishing. So we need to implement that. So for that, I already have some code. So we can use that option basically. So I will go one by one. So for that we can create, I think I already created a uh, yes, we can create a class name with, yes, I'm just okay. So here what we need to do is like we need to implement two interfaces basically. One is like I selector handler, another one is I content index handler. So these two interface has its own purpose. We need to implement these interface in our own selector actually. This is actually we are trying to extend the expand feature. If you look into the Swagger, we have this expand feature is there. No, sorry, the fetch feature is there. So we are trying to extend this fetch feature basically. So for that fetch feature, where we need to implement these two interfaces basically. So the first one is the I content index handler. This is responsible for creating the updating the index for this for our own logic actually. And this I selector is responsible for querying the endpoints basically. So first of all we can implement this. So these two get fields, and the get field values is responsible for updating our logic into the index actually. So if you go into the Umbraco back office in the settings section, we can see a examine management, and in the examine management we can see the delivery API content index. So this is actually using what Umbraco is using is like it is indexing with this name. And it is this index is using whenever we are fetching the whenever we are trying to fetch the data from the using the delivery API, the data is actually pulling from this index. So this I content handler is actually I content index handler is actually responsible for creating that the new field in that specific index actually. For that there is two method. One is for get field, and one is for get field values. I'm just updating those things. I'm just copying that again. Something missed. Then we can copy everything. That would be good. Okay, so as I said, this is for the indexing actually. These two method is from the I content index handler. So this is for defining our property and how it needs to be updated. That index value, how it needs to be updated. So these two method is responsible for that. See, get field method is actually responsible for what is our field name. So in this scenario, we used a field name called is featured because we use the same alias for the for the document type that property. So we can use any name. That's not an issue. We can I'm just using this field name is featured. So I am just mentioning that this is the field name. So we are trying to create a new index field actually. In that particular index we are creating a new field. So the field name is featured, and the field type is string row. There are different field type is there, date, number, and different the field type is there. So I'm just using that. And vary by culture. If we have multiple culture, I mean multilingual, if we are working on a multilingual web application, then we can use this option. As of now I'm just using as a false because we don't have this multilingual feature for this session. So this method is to define the field and its type, and this get field values response for updating that that index values actually. So here we can simply, this is a simple .NET code, so we can see that this is, if the content type is not product, then we need to we don't need to use any logic, because we created the is featured property only for this item, for this content type. So this code will responsible take responsible for that. And once it's the product content type, then it will fetching that is featured property and then updating that field value. If it's true, then it is y, the y variable. Then other one, if it's false, then it is variable, the string n actually. So that's how it will work. So these two method is responsible for for indexing, and this two method is responsible for querying basically. So this is the specifier. Specifier means, if we if we go into the Swagger documentation, we can see, we can specify the in we need to specify that that specifier here actually. So any name we can use, it's up to us. So here I'm just using feature products, because we are something related to featured, right, and we are exposing the product. So that's why I'm given these featured products as the name. So we can use any name. So whatever name we are using, we need to we need to use the same name here actually. So yeah, so the feature product is there. Then I am to, we need to fetch that. So before, we need to rebuild this. So here one time, I will explain one time also, once again. So we need to, we can create a custom selector. That means we will expand this filter basically. So we need to use the I content index handler, and the I selector handler. The I content index handler interface is responsible for indexing those values, and the I selector handler is responsible for querying that values. So that is the purpose of these two interface, and we are implementing that in our custom class actually. So now we need to just restart the application, and let's see what is happening. Okay, so site is built now. Okay, we can see the site is building. Yep. Then what we need to do is, like, if is featured, and just save and publishing. Okay, it's save and publish. Then we can go into our delivery AP index. Let's see it is indexed or not. So this is biker jacket. So we can search for the same name. We can search for jacket. Okay. So there is 21 field. We can see here. Yes, if we look into here, this we can see that each fee is featured. This property is updated. So this code is updating. I mean, this data is updating just because of this, this implementation. I mean, this implementation, because of this implementation, those fields is getting updated. So this is a very simple logic. So we can write our own logic based on our own business requirement, basically. So this is responsible for indexing, as we are now seeing. So then what we need to do is, like, we need to try to fetch that, right? So for that, what we need to do is, like, uh, we need to go here and specify the fetch featured products here and try to fetch. Then we can see that that biker jacket is exposed, and there is only one item, because we didn't enabled any other product. We can try to disable this. So let's see what happens. Okay, then we are coming to a Swagger documentation, and then trying to execute this. So here there is nothing, because we are just disabled that. So once we enable back, then we can see that protect once again. Yep. So yeah, so we can see that that products basically. So this is achieving by using this specifier. This specifier we are mentioning here. Actually, we can use any name. So this is how we can we can extend this fetch parameter. I mean the fetch, the query parameter we can extend by using this method actually. So once again, I will explain that. So for achieve what we are trying to achieve is like we are just creating a new property called is featured. So this is actually a bool value. I mean true or false value. So whether this property is enabled for this any of the product, then that need to be exposed via the API. So by default, there is no such option. So we are trying to achieve that option for our business requirement. So for that, we need to create a custom class, and we need to inherit these two interfaces. I mean we need to implement these two interfaces. One is I content index handler, and another one is I selector handler. The I content index handler is responsible for creating the index. I mean creating the new field in the existing index and updating the index values. And there is two method is there. One is get field values and get field. Get field is for defining the field, what is that field type and name of that field type, and the get field value method is responsible for updating that value in the index. So that is from the I content index handler. The other one is I selector handler. So I selector handler is has two methods. One is can handle, another one is build selector option. So these two method is actually responsible for querying the data. And this is the specifier, and we can use any name, and this is just the field name. So based on this configuration, once it's done, then we can when we go into the the examine index in examine management, just open the delivery AP index. That index we can see our indexed value. So once it's indexed, then we can simply use that specifier, and we can fetch that specific item. So this is how we can extend the fetch. Then the second one is like we can check how we need to filter that. Like the fetching is like we are fetching the data. Now we need to filter the data. Let's say if we have there is couple of featured products. Let we can use couple of featured products. We can enable this. We can enable this. Okay, then we can try it out. Then we can see how much. So as of now, there is only one item. So once it's executed, it needs to be three item. Yeah, it's working. So it's three item. So now the three featured product is fetched by using your custom implementation. So then we need to filter these three items. Actually, three items we need to filter. So for that, what we can do is like we can use the current. There is a current property called category. So this is comes along with this starter kit. So we can use this, like we can see different tags is attached to this category, right? Like fashion, bingo, and I think we can they're using different tags for this, right? So we can fetch filter these featured products based on this category basically. So we are going to try it out. So for that we need to implement so this is implemented the I select handler for the for the fetch. The other one is for the now we are trying to achieve the filter actually. For that we can use another, I mean we can use the same file. So we am just minimizing this so we can avoid the confusion. Yep. We have a code there. I think the class we can protect filter. So we need to implement I filter handler is there. So we can see the so I filter handler and I content handler. So I content index handler is same that we explained in this in this method. This is to update the that index value, and this is to using the querying that filter actually. So this has two methods. So we can implement that. Yeah. So so here we can see that I filter handler is there, I content hand index handler is there. So I content index handler is nothing that we already explained in this in this method. So I filter handler is responsible for querying the data. I mean querying the that query parameter actually. So here can handle is common in this the fetch also. Build filter option is something, tagged very specific for this I filter handler. If you go here, the handle is all, or also here for this I selector handler. This build filter option is actually unique to this I filter handler. So we can, implement that. So I have already tested these things. So I think we can use same code. Okay. So here, what I am trying to achieve, we already said that, okay, we need to specify this specify. We can make some product filter specifier. We can use the same name here. Okay. So here what we are trying to achieve is like, we need to filter that data, the featured product data by the category name. So currently we have these three products. So these three products is nothing. These three products are, the feature products actually. So we need to filter these feature products basically, based on this category actually. So that we are going to implement. So here, if you look into here, we can see a specifier. This is nothing. The specifier that we are using the same name for filtering. Like if you go into the if you go into the add string, we need to specify that here actually. So for that purpose, we are using a unique key. So for now, we are using this product and full colon, and the field name is category. So if you look into these two method, this is as we already discussed in the previous method. These two method, the get field values and get fields, is for updating the index values actually. So we are doing nothing, just we are checking it's a product content or not. We because we don't need to update every other content. We just focus on the product. So if it's we are just replacing that that comma there is a comma, the value is comma separated for that tag. So we just avoiding that comma and just using a space, a blank space, because for indexing, for searching, the comma won't work, it didn't work well, or we didn't get a accurate search result. So that's why we are removing that comma and we are just adding a blank space. Okay, so once the tag is null, then we are returning the empty field values. If there is any values in that category field, then we are updating that value actually. And when we go into the when we look into the querying actually, we are just using this, we are checking whether a field has value or not. If there is value, then we are using, and then we are checking whether it has a um, um, that this value is in that in the index or not. That's we are using. And the operator is nothing. We can we can determine what would be the logic for this filter actually. There are different options are there, is, contains, is not, like that. For now we can use contains actually. So it will check whether this value, this filter value is in our index or not for the specific product, looking into this category, the field actually, I mean category property field. So once it's done, then we need to rebuild. Okay, I think it's rebuild. Then yeah, it's rebuilding. Okay, so it's reloaded now. So let's see what happens. Yeah, when we go into here, we can, let's check for this biker. What is that name? Biker jacket. Yeah, so it's updated. So we can pull those values. Go to Swagger. I'm using the product. We are using a specifier called product. So I'm using the same product, and we need to use, let's say, bingo. Bingo. We are using that. So I'm using the same. So let's see what happens. So it is not fetching. We did something wrong. No, we did expand, and no, that's not. Protect bingo. Let's something happens. Can try to save and publish once again. What's happening? Let's say just remove these two options. We just add a new option called test. What will happen then? Okay, then we can try with that. Test. Okay, it is exposing that. So the something with multiple, we can check now. So here what we are trying to achieve is like, we are using the fetch products, feature products. That means it will only expose the products with this feature, is featured value enabled. And the second is we are applying filter on basis of this property. But somehow these multiple, the tag is not working. We can check why it is that. So test is working. So we can see. Oops, what will happen? Features. So it's test. Then it is exposing. So it's working. Why it is then? Is working. So something, so maybe we can re-index that. Sometime there was an issue with this. Yep, syntax now. So let's see what happens. Can change this to bingo. Bingo. Now it is working. So, so now we can see these two items. So this is basically the jumpsuit, and the other product is biker jacket. So these two are actually the feature products, and these two has the category called bingo. So that's why it is exposing the data. So this is how we can extend the fetch option and the filter option. The same way we can expand the extend the sort, and also we can extend these expand options also we can extend basically. So those documentations we can see in the Umbraco basically. So this is all about the content, and as far as now we are completed how we can consume the content by using these endpoints. And there are different endpoints for fetch these contents by path, by ID, by key. And there are different the query parameters, and what is the different options available for these different query parameters, what are the default options from the Umbraco itself, and how we can extend the current implementation into our own to achieve our own business logic, how we can extend this fetch and filter. And the other property we can extend other property also. So those documentation is available in Umbraco itself. Actually, it's pretty much same how we are implementing the fetch and filter. The exactly or almost same. We can do it for the sort and expand and for other properties as well. I mean for other query parameter as well. So, and these are the, these are the main things that as far as now we covered for the content basically. And for the media also, it is nothing much. We are just exposing the media actually. And so for this endpoint also, we can, use, expose the media data by using its path, its ID, and also we can use the query parameters, the exactly same as what we did, what we, shown in this for the content. The same will applicable for the media as well. So this is the two, the API definitions for this Umbraco headless. And we need to understand that, okay, there are some limitations also in Umbraco. As of now, there is some limitations, but Umbraco is saying that, okay, some of the limitations they will cover up in coming updates basically. They are working on that. So the few limitations are like, few limitations are like, we can't like we already know that the data is in the the JSON format. So in .NET, we know that, okay, if we can't, expose a deeply nested JSON. So when we when we try to expose a deeply nested JSON, then it will, it will throw a JSON exception error actually. So so .NET implemented that to, to avoid this cyclic reference, or depend to avoid that, reduce that payload. They have that feature. But in Umbraco, they have their own JSON configuration available. We can use that configuration. We can, we need to implement that configuration in the startup file. So that documentation is also available in Umbraco. So that is the that is also a, we need to be aware about that actually. In some scenarios, we need to expose a nested, deeply nested JSON we need to expose. So at that time, we need to understand like, okay, this is the way the Umbraco implemented. So the other one is like, we know that we can use the RT content. Like if we go into the back office, we can, we can give the RT content, like the rich text content we can add, right? So in the rich text content, we know that, okay, we can add different, there are different options in the, the rich content RT. So the commonly using the option is inserting macro. So this won't work in the API actually. This macro we can, use our own macro files, and based on that macro files we can render the data. But for the delivery API, the Umbraco delivery API or the Umbraco headless, this feature won't support. If we update, if we insert the macro, it won't work actually. So that is a limitation. And also there is a, grid is there. We know that grid system. So legacy grid system won't work if you need to use member content. Like we can't use the member picker actually. We can't use the member content to avoid the risk of, exposing the member data or the sensitive data of the member. Umbraco won't, support that member picker actually. So we can create those member picker, but we can't, the Umbraco API won't expose that member picker in the JSON response actually. And also the multi-node picker also. So in the multi-node picker, we can either use the content media or we can use the member. So if we are using the member for that multi-node picker, then in that case scenario also, it won't work actually. So for the member, the Umbraco won't expose in the JSON actually. So these are the few limitations in Umbraco headless, Umbraco delivery API. So these things, it's also documented in the Umbraco. So anyone can, go into that documentation. And I think we already shared in this chat group, meeting chat. So everyone can look into that as well. So these are the few limitations of Umbraco headless, Umbraco API delivery API. Some of the feature will, some of the limitations will, will fixed, or will rectify in the upcoming, upcoming updates. That is also Umbraco specified in that documentation. So please go into that. So I think we as we discussed, we cover the basic things of this, how the headless is working, how, what are the different definitions for this delivery API. So what are the different query parameters, and how we can extend these query parameters to achieve our business requirements. So those things we already covered. So yep. So if there is any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, hi Danesh. First of all, congratulations. Good presentation. I just want to one thing I need to know, like in the API Swagger, when
Hmm.
here content, right? So
Yeah.
how many records? Like I see there is a skip one, like we can skip some particular records, but how many record we can pull at a time, or we can like for pagination purpose. I don't know whether I missed that one when you presented it. So when we call the Swagger, right, for the content, for example. So
Sorry, sorry, actually I missed that last part. Can you just repeat once again?
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for example, there are around 1,000 contents there. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to first 50, then another like pagination.
Mm-hmm.
So in that Swagger, I see only skip. So is there any page
Yeah,
size or
yeah, yeah, there is other option as well. I will show you. So if you go into the content, we can see the skip and take basically. Skip is
ah
actually the page number. So
okay. Yeah, I missed this take one. Yeah, I didn't see that one. Yeah, got it. Got it. Yeah, thank you.
So I hope this is it. So thank you, Danesh, for the wonderful session.